Hey, this is Gina Duke with Churchtown Ministries. Thank you for tuning in to ginaduke.com. You know, sometimes in the scriptures as I'm reading, I almost find it humorous to think about what the people I'm reading about could possibly have been thinking, what was going through their mind as I'm reading their story. And you know, we have been studying Abraham and trying to learn how he has gotten better at his faith and follow through, how he's gotten better at being obedient to God. And that's where we want to get to. And so as we have looked at Abraham, he's not only made a mess of his nephew Lot's life by deviating from God's plans for him, but he's also beginning to make a mess of his own life in chapter 16 of Genesis. But then we get to chapter 17 of Genesis, and there is a major turn here. And I almost think that Abraham had to look behind him and look at this wake of disaster and has gotten to this point where he's thinking, I am going to be serious about following after God. I mean, have you ever done that? Where you're looking behind and you're thinking, if I don't course correct, it's just going to get worse. And I almost think that Abraham had that moment. And then in chapter 17, God makes a covenant with Abraham and actually changes his name from Abram to Abraham in this chapter, and also changes his wife's name to Sarah. And so I don't know if it was a culmination of Abraham thinking about, I've got a mess behind me, and now I have this new covenant with the Lord, and my name's been changed, and it's like, this is a clean slate. I'm going to start over, you know, kind of like we do in the new year every year. I don't know what went on, but at some point, Abraham decided, I'm going to be serious about God, and I'm going to do a better job. Well, then on the heels of that decision or that turnaround, whatever's went on with Abraham, God then asked him to do something new and different. He interjects the covenant of the circumcision. Now, I, of course, am not a guy, but I can appreciate that procedure and what that must have entailed for grown men. And so it's almost humorous because here you are, you get serious with God, and then he's like going to test just how serious you are about him. And so with Abraham, he introduces the covenant of the circumcision. And what I love about Abraham here, where he's finally gotten to, it says that he did it that day. Not only did Abraham have himself circumcised, he circumcised all the men, all the males in his camp. And there were a lot of them. And so the Bible doesn't say there was any delay. It doesn't say that he had to get clarification. He had to get confirmation. He had to consult with the men. He had to maybe make a date later in the future for this to occur. No, he did it that day. And what that reminds me of is in the New Testament when Jesus teaches the disciples to pray. In the beginning of it says, Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Listen to this part. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. What does that mean? For God's will to be done in earth as it is in heaven. Well, we're the earth. It's done in earth. We're part of the earth. God wants his will done in us. Think about in heaven. If God wants something done in heaven, you know what? It's done like that. The angels, they're not lollygagging. They're not arguing facts or thoughts with the Almighty. Things are done immediately. And so I think that's how God wants us to respond to him. And it says that Abraham did it that day. Abraham has made a crucial turn here. And as we continue to study our case study of Abraham, you're going to see he even gets more extreme in his obedience to God. But I love that Abraham has finally made that turn. And I encourage you, and I want to make that turn, where I am that immediate in being submissive to God and what he has asked me to do. So I hope that you find this to be helpful to you. Continue to tune in, and let's see what else Abraham does in his radical obedience. Thanks, and God bless.